Now when you're blind, reading print can be a little bit of a problem. So some of us use Braille.
That's right. That's why in front of us, Siobhan, we have an array of Braille writing and producing devices. But which of these is right for you or someone you know?
Good question. The answer? Well, it's complicated. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about Braille.
That's right. So much to talk about. But before we dig into it, if you want to support the content, hit the subscribe button because we've got a lot to talk about. Question 1, what is Braille?
Put simply, it's a language that blind people can read.
That's right. And you say it's simple, but it's really not, is it?
Actually, I'm going to say
it's quite complicated. It is complicated, but put simply, that's exactly what it is. And we have in front of us a series of different Braille devices, and we're going to talk about that. But the first thing to say is you have to learn the language first, and there are two main types of Braille, and that is contracted Braille. That's the more advanced one. It used to be called Grade 2. It's now called Unified English Braille.
It is UEB.
That's right, and that's what I need to learn.
That's what I need to learn.
Or you can do Grade 1 Braille.
Yes.
Should we do a little bit of an example? So I'm going to move on over to the Perkins Brailler. We've got some electric devices to show you, but I'm going to write on this Brailler for you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Come on.
L, M, N, O, P.
What's that?
Oh.
N, O, P. I'm doing space, by the way. Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z in the UK, or Z in America. Now I know my ABC. Come and learn some Braille with me. Bear in mind we didn't practice that one before the end of that.
We're too good.
Genii. No, it's actually geniuses as the plural.
Geniuses.
Yeah, so the first thing then is the alphabet in Braille.
Yes.
Now that'd be one of the first things that you would learn, and in doing so, you would be able to write words like anybody else writes words.
Yes.
And that's great.
It would be really cumbersome though if you only did stick with Grade 1.
And that means that literally every letter you write is a literal letter of the alphabet.
Yes.
But because Braille is so much bigger than print, normal print anyway, some things are shortened.
Contractions.
So, so for example, don't worry about, we've got a QWERTY keyboard in front of us. We're going to talk about all these devices, but I'm going to use a Braille input. So we're going to use the same one again, okay? Say, for example, you want to write the word children in Grade 1 Braille, you'd have to write C-H-I-L-D-R-E-N. And if you want to do it in Grade 2 contracted Braille, you do a CH sign. You don't worry about the I-L-D-R-E-N, you do the N, because it's CHN, it's a bit like short form.
Yeah, it is short form.
You use two cells. That's what Braille is, put very simply.
With modern technology, do we even need Braille anymore?
The answer to that is, well, maybe. You said it was complicated, right? I'd say yes.
I'd say yes.
We'll be really short on why it's important, because we're going to talk about devices and which ones you might want to look at and the pros and cons of these various things we have in front of us, okay? For children in particular learning to spell, I was at a massive disadvantage when I had partial sight losing all my vision at the age of 14. Not being able to see how things are written down. Even with my rubbish partial sight, I couldn't really read for any protracted period of time. I think it's really important so that you actually know how things are supposed to be spelt.
I do as well, and this is the really big thing that I do keep harping on to many people within the education sector is definitely teach children Braille, because I think it does have a place in society. I was at a massive disadvantage like you were with growing up in the education system and not actually having Braille until I was in the in secondary school, and I did struggle with reading large print.
How old were you when you learnt Braille?
I actually taught myself when I was about 10 years old.
Taught yourself?
I did. I actually taught myself through various different, friends of mine telling me which is the signs, and I then went on to kind of learn in my own time. It wasn't until secondary school when I actually then started to use it for my own education, but I wanted to be able to communicate with my friends, hence the reason I wanted to learn it. But yes, it does have a place.
Beyond talking to your friends, of course, but I know what you mean. You wanted to write notes.
I wanted to write notes, Notes to my friends, that they could read.
How old would you have been, roughly?
when I started, I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
And I then went to use Braille when I was about 12, 13 years old.
All right, so I didn't learn until I was 14.
Yeah.
And it was after I'd lost the functional vision that I had. And I didn't get bullied into it, that's unfair. But, you know, you're going to have to do this. And I was doing my exams at the same time. So I learned advanced Braille really quickly. That contracted Braille we spoke about, I learned that really quickly, probably in 3 months more or less.
Yeah,
but
that's
there's a little
impressive.
bit of a problem, isn't there? I learned all that, and then came Unified English Braille.
That's right, and they did that for a very good reason.
Did they? Okay, yeah. Here's the theory behind it. Contracted Braille, or Grade 2 Braille, was slightly different in the United States and UK, as I understand it. Certainly, lots of English language Braille people were using slightly different contractions. And, you know, so for instance, somebody who comes from another country who speaks English might struggle to read Grade 2 Braille in England, for instance. And that, they said, that would give people a little bit of a rough ride. So they have changed it so that Braille theoretically would be the same in all English-speaking countries, those who use that. And they've done things, for instance, as I understand it, so I'm learning Unified English Braille now, and one of these devices is brilliant for that. I'm going to explain more later, so stay tuned. I can hear the excitement, everybody's thinking, I really want to find out about Unified English Braille. Seriously, stick with us, because it might be interesting.
It puts it into context anyway.
Yeah, it is. So for instance...
continuity, isn't it, UEB?
That's right. So if you want to write certain wording, like a double F in the middle of a word, is like an F, but it's in the lower cells. So Braille being 6 cells, dot 1, 2, 3 on the left-hand side going down, and then 4, 5, 6 on the right hand going down. You'd do a lower F sign, so it looked like an F, but it would be in the bottom cells. That means double F. Now, in Unified English Braille, that's still the case. That's absolutely fine. The reason people might get a bit confused is because in old speak, if you like, in Grade 2 English Braille, that same sign, if it were at the start of a word, that would mean 2, TO. So that's gone now. You have to write TO. And at the end of the word, I think it'd be an exclamation mark, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And so actually, I'm not even sure what an exclamation mark is now, so I'll have to tell you about that later. But the idea is that if you are reading Braille and you feel certain cells, it always means the same thing, regardless of where it is on the whole. I mean, it gets a bit more complicated. Let's not get into the fact you can only use that double F in the middle of a word, for instance, but like you can't have it at the beginning or the end in that context anymore. Are you confused? Because I'm flipping confused.
I told you.
I'm confused.
It's complicated.
It is complicated. Where's everyone been when you need her?
I know.
Yeah. Why does it have to be so complicated? Life's like this now. Okay. Next question then is, what is a Braille display? What is a note taker? And which, if any, do you need? I'm really scared, Siobhan, because I don't even know how I'm going to begin to explain this. Okay, in front of us, we've got a series of devices. Most of them are displays, actually.
Yeah.
We've got the Focus Blue 14 and 40. They're both 5th generation, if that means anything to you. We have in front of me a Mantis Q40 Braille display. We have a little bit of an old-fashioned one now from 2006, which is a HumanWare BT18.
Retro style!
Means there are 18 cells. And we've got the old-fashioned Perkins Braille. Do you want to point out the two displays on the right-hand side, Siobhan?
This is the Brilliant 14 by HumanWare. And behind it is the Vario Ultra 40 cell. It's beautiful.
That's right. So let's move our hands out of the way a second. Let's go to the top ceiling camera. Did you even know we had one of those? We do. So the one nearest to us is primarily a Braille display. In fact, they're all primarily Braille displays except for the mechanical Perkins Braille and the one directly in front of it, which is the BT18, because that was primarily a note taker that could theoretically operate in a display mode. So back to, go away ceiling camera, back to us here, please, if you would. The difference between a display and a note taker is the display would work on other devices such as computers and smartphones and all that sort of stuff.
Smart tablets.
Anything like that. A note taker, it operates in of itself. Now, all of these have note-taking functions, okay? So if you're thinking, which do I get? You can turn any of these devices on, write some text in Braille and save it and come back to it. You can do that. The difference between that and say a note taker, an actual dedicated note taker these days, is that they are built-in bits of kit. Okay, they're built-in bits of kit, and they are, you know, part of an operating system. They tend to run Android. The primary ones is there's the Braille Sense and the Braille Note. And the two main manufacturers you're going to look at in the UK are Humanware, and they've got all sorts of products there, and Sight and Sound. And likewise, they've both got websites there. They're quite similar in layout, and they both offer a divide by spread the cost thing, which means, you know, you can buy stuff for 0%, can't you?
Yeah, and I love this capability. I love the fact that you can actually do that, because, I mean, they are expensive.
And we're going to talk in a little bit about how you can afford to buy them.
Yeah,
okay?
but it gives us an option.
Yeah.
It gives people an option.
I love all of these devices. I would say the three that I'm using now, that sounds terrible. My daily driver is about to be, because I've just got it, this Mantis Qwerty. Fantastic bit of kit. A personally purchased device was this Focus Blue 14 5th generation. A ridiculous money, but again, spread the cost. And it was, as of today when we're recording this, it's £1,295 from Sight and Sound. Okay, now they're quite good because they link into the Jaws screen reader with no real issues whatsoever. And you can take notes on these, and you can, you know, you can also sort of use it as a display. So I'm going to turn this one on very briefly, and I'm going to turn the one behind it on, which is the Focus Blue 40. I can see that I am 97% on the 40 cell, which is a bit of a shame because it was 100% a couple of hours ago and not being used, and this is 100% the small one. Okay, so you do the menus, and they're very similar layouts. We're going to go to Scratchpad in each of them, okay? And I'm going to do the same on this one here. Scratchpad is the inbuilt note taker function. Okay, so I'm just going to, what we have is a file error, so I'm not sure whether it's going to let me create a new file. Let's try that anyway. So we're going to go to the file menu. We're going to create a new file, okay? And it's going to move in over here, and we're going to do the same on the 40 cell. And just because this one has had a file error, I'm going to stick to the 40 cell, okay? They're both exactly the same. I might just need to have a look at this other one at some point. Right, if you want to write something here, again, you can say, give me a sentence.
I like Braille.
Okay.
As
as
it
yeah
enables me
yes, I've got that. Check. Yep.
To read and write independently.
Okay, I've just done that in grade 2 old style, which I shouldn't. The refreshable Braille display lets you kind of read a document by feeling it.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant because you can use Perkins style things. So you've got these 6 keys, the same ones you've got over here. Hello, it'd be the same on this old fashioned one, which we'll talk about afterwards. Hello. We're going to come back to the Mantis for a reason. Hello. I think, why are you writing hello? Okay, the reason I'm going to write hello now is what we've got on this Braille display here, and then I'll do the same. You've got exactly what we wrote there, which is I like Braille as it. Oh, shouldn't that really be because? But there we are. Okay, so then we've got that there as it helps me to live independent. That's fine. So then we can go down and read hello, so you can kind of take some notes on it. And that device is brilliant because 40 cells is loads. So I'd say that device is perfect for using on a computer, wouldn't you? If you're just checking your writing.
Yes, 40 cells I think would be a lot better if you're looking at a document or reading minutes or even schoolwork or any
or a
educational
book, because they've all got books.
Yes. I think if we kind of like talk about the other ones, the ones that are 14 cell, then that would be something completely different that I would use it for. Yeah,
so both the Focus Blue 14, and if you just want to point to the Humanware version of the 14 if you can, Siobhan, they both let you have something that's kind of portable and it can kind of, you know, stay in your bag or something. Okay, so I'm going to just hold one up over here and we'll do the other one in a minute. It's tiny.
It's
tiny.
So cute.
You can get it out, a bit like me then in which case. You can get it out. I'm going to try and go to my Scratchpad again because I'm a bit confused as to why it's got that file error. That was confusing me. Okay, that's no SD card. So that explains what the issue was. I still think it's mistaken because I think there is, but we won't worry about that unless I've pondered it. Did I? I'm pondering whether I squandered it rather, using something else. But you can take those notes it's with you. And what you'd use these ones for, I would suggest, is much more your shopping list or whatever.
Or
you
text
can use it with a
messages.
mobile telephone because they all link up, with the possible exception to the old mechanical thing and this one in front, which was supposed to. All these will easily link up, okay, to your smartphone.
Or for simply dropping down somebody's number or quick address. And they're very portable, they're very light, so you can take them travelling if you're on an aeroplane there.
Yeah.
It's really, really, it's adorable. I just love it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's so sweet.
Want to hold that up?
Hold that up there.
So
how small is that? And I really like it for that reason.
Let's not have this argument again. Oh, sorry.
I do like it because it really does offer, you know, a lot in terms of the size.
And Laura laughs.
Portable, and it's
Now I'm a big fan. Putting you past me, I'm a massive fan of humanware.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about this device, I mean, I'm a big fan of all of them. Okay, it's no endorsing any product.
No.
I honestly think the thing about humanware, which we're going to come on and talk about, is it's fairly consistent no matter which you use, because you've got your main Braille display, you've got your space bar and your key entries, and you've got your tiny portable, your tiny buttons to scroll and to pan. All of them have, actually this one doesn't, I didn't realise that one. I'm going to put this one back a moment.
All of them have
router keys, except apparently that one. But I have to say that's yours, not mine, so I'm not really familiar with it very much. So all of the
but I do like it.
All of the others, what we'll do, oh sorry, I didn't mean to put your hand away. All of the others have router keys, which means, or router cursors, so you can press where on the Braille display you want to move the cursor to edit, okay?
Which I think is really good.
And we're going to come on talk, because you remember I mentioned those humanware buttons?
Yes.
With this Mantis, we're going to talk about why you might want that in a moment. Because they've also got the same thumbnails in order to scroll and do all sorts of things. So I'm going to pop that over there a second. Let's take another quick look at the ceiling cam. Now, in front of us, you know, you'd be thinking nobody needs this many devices. If we come back down to this camera here, again, this one here that's in front of me is the Humanware BT14. And it is one beast of a machine. Let me just try and pick it up a moment. It's one beast of a machine, and to be fair, you wouldn't really use it these days. I remember buying that. It still smells nice and computery. I remember buying that in 2006. We're going to come on to how you could afford to buy these things. Most people can, even if you're on a very low income. We'll explain that, okay? It's quite heavy. Have a feel of that?
Oh, wow. Yes, it is.
It's quite heavy.
Gosh,
but back then, theoretically, if you wanted to connect it to your Wi-Fi, you could pay an extra £85 for a Wi-Fi card.
Yeah.
I did that. I actually did that. Well, there are keys in here. I wonder what they're for. So I've got do you want to have a look? PCMCIA Wi-Fi card.
Oh yeah.
That costs like £85. Oh, that's expensive. Yeah, flipping everything in this world.
It is.
Of access tech is expensive, because what you'd do is you'd pop the Wi-Fi card in there, and theoretically you could connect it then to your Wi-Fi. You theoretically could connect it to your phone using Bluetooth. I never managed to do that, everybody. It was all quite clunky. So I have to say, it theoretically could be used as a display, but it's kind of an old-fashioned note taker. So you had theoretically everything there that you'd want. You had a book reader thing. I'm going to put that back in the middle bit. You'd have a book reader. I think you have a calculator on there. You'd have adventure games. My favourite was the Underpants Adventure.
Oh, really?
In fact, do you remember the old text adventure games?
Yes, I do.
It wasn't the mouldy underoos, but it was just something underoos. And I think that the premise of the game that I remember is like basically someone's underwear. I mean, I know someone like this as well. Like developed a life of its own and had disappeared. So change your underwear every day, kids. All right, there's the lesson there. And this was great. This was great, because I'm going to tell you about which of these devices. There's a really beautiful device we want to talk about before we talk about this one in front of me, which is the new one, the Mantis that I've got, the Vario Ultra. And that's your old one, isn't it?
It is my old one. I got it back in 2017, and it's done me well, actually.
It has.
The keys are really, really lovely. It's very quiet. So, for example, when I was in a meeting and taking notes and things, it was just...
I'll do it on the focus after you. Was that ready? So they were quite quiet.
And that's the beauty of them.
And this old one, wasn't it? Oh, it's a lot noisier.
It's a lot noisier. But the one that I'm touching now, the Vario, it doesn't feel plasticky.
It's the only thing I don't like about this unit. It's a Brilliant unit. Brilliant, no pun intended, they're brilliant. So they've got a new 20 cell one, I haven't felt those. And they've got 40 cell, and they feel really premium quality. This one was a cheaper buy. I think when you bought it was about 900. It's now about 1,200 odd.
Yeah.
It's 1,045, correction. About 1,045. I really don't like the space bar on it, but it's a shame because the rest of the unit's beautiful.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I love it. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I'm just, sorry.
There are links and descriptions for all these companies, and we're going to talk to you about a much cheaper option that's going to be very good. I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I'm going to go on and say something very nice about Humanware in a minute, because I mean it. But I really don't like the space bar on this one.
Which one? Is that
the 14 cell?
Oh, okay, the Brilliant.
Yeah, the Brilliant 14.
Yeah.
But I felt the 40 cell and it's gorgeous. So I'd say have a feel before you do that. And if you speak to Humanware and Sight and Sound, I'm sure as well, they will be able to sort you out product display. So you need to choose the right display for you.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
The one, if I had to buy it now out of my own pocket, we're going to come and talk about, would actually be the Mantis Q40.
Mine
but
too.
If you're going to spend £1,045 on this 14 cell Humanware, I would actually, yet again, I'd go back and pay the £1,295. You know, the space bar. I prefer the Focus Blue 14.
Yeah, I think I would.
And it's it's a toss up between the 40 cell, right?
The Braille's good though. The Braille display, actually the Braille feels really good quality.
So I would say they're all brilliant devices, and I love this Humanware one. But say if you're going to spend, I think it's £1,045. In that particular user case, I'd probably go for the Focus Blue 14. But that's me. You may disagree, okay? So look around, try it out. Okay?
If you guys are interested, we can actually go into more detail on other videos with each of the products. But for now,
we're talking generalities.
Yeah,
definitely.
we're talking generalities.
The Vario Ultra, so I would have loved one of those, right? And so this is your unit. I would have loved one of those. Let me tell you the reasons I love it. So again, if you type on it, if I lean right across over here, you type on it, oh yeah. And there's 2 space bars, isn't there, I think?
Yeah.
So that's really nice. And the display is premium. Sorry, it's a metal chassis.
It is,
absolutely
yeah.
It's owned by
slim.
BOM.
Yeah.
Now, and it's also, I think it's got very good note-taking facilities, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you can switch it between the two.
And display, so it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
So I would say that in terms of the device itself, they're brilliant, but the problem is the company had gone out of business in the UK. They've been bought by a German company, and I'm just going to tell you this. I have no problem doing this because this is honest opinion based on fact, and I could call you 2 witnesses to this effect as well. This very unit, I was with a professional who does this stuff day in, day out. They're trying to contact the company in Germany because it had bricked, okay? When I say bricked, it become totally unusable at that point because of the update they were trying to put on it. It didn't like it. Whenever that person in my presence has tried to call them, they're not having much joy. And in fact, there was talk about new ones coming out. If that comes out, absolutely brilliant, fantastic. I'm not very confident in that, only because, I've seen how good the communications aren't at the moment. And I have no problem saying that whatsoever. Hope it does work because it's a beautiful device. I love it.
Oh, it is fantastic. It really is. And like I say, it's really premium and slimline. And I've taken it everywhere and used it for work. And
you're worried because I've slagged the company, aren't you? I'm
not
at all worried. Right, I would have one of these now.
Not at all.
I would have one of these now as a display.
Yeah.
No dramas. But, so we're going to talk about the pros and cons. I'm leaving the Mantis till last, okay? These little ones, either one of these brilliant devices, Sight and Sound for the Focus Blue 14, Humanware for the Brilliant 14.
Yeah.
I've given my opinion on it. Do you prefer the feel of?
Personally, I prefer the feel of the Focus 14.
And you bought that with your own money, didn't you?
I did. I bought the Brilliant 14 with my own money. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, like I did with
because
the Focus.
I wanted something that was portable and being somebody who likes to have a handbag and What?
You were talking about, not me.
Yeah,
right?
me. I travel, and I've travelled a lot, and I just, I kind of have a handbag, and I don't have big handbags, so I wanted something that's going to fit in quite neatly, and that did. So the Brilliant 14, is great for portable.
But if you had a chance at the 40 cell from them, you'd have their arm off, right?
Yeah.
Unless there were a better device. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. The mechanical one, right? You might think this is like something from Back to the Future. Wild West, let alone the 50s.
Is. Very heavy.
But this is how you would buy one now. There's a slightly updated one. It's still fairly clunky. But this is the one people tend to use It's very noisy. So can you give me a sentence to write?
I love my guide dog
So I've left my E off there, so you want to say, love my guide dog.
very much.
Yeah. And that's the end of the sentence?
Yeah.
As opposed to if I write it on the QWERTY keyboard, and that's what we're going to come on to in a minute, love my guide dog very much. It's a bit quicker, right?
Very quick and not very
So
not very
so
loud.
the plus side about the Perkins is you've got an actual printed page.
Which I quite like though. I know that's probably really old fashioned, but I quite like that. I like being able to write Braille and then feel it. For example, if I want to have a quick shopping list, I might not necessarily take my Braille at 14 out. I might just kind of like quickly tap something out. Depends.
See, I disagree with you.
No, but
I'll tell you why you're wrong. That's an Alan Partridge reference, brother.
it depends. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, but sometimes it's just nice to have that little bit of Braille underneath your fingertips.
When I've done, I deliver training, I would either use the 40 cell or I would write Braille sheets. And the way I use Braille is mostly as an aide memoir. So, except stand by because the life changer or the revolutionary thing is going to come along in a minute. But I would say that with speech technology, I prefer to listen to the speech most of the time. I would say that with Braille, I'm not fast enough to read War and Peace, certainly not at talking speed, so I need talking software for that. But I use it for Ada memoirs, or names, or titles, or quotes I have to get right. That's my user case. What about yours?
I use mine for looking at agendas.
For licking? Oh, sorry. I use mine for licking.
For reading minutes and knowing what the agenda is and things like that.
Tasty, is
for
it, Braille?
work. And you had your little spiel. So I mainly use mine for like reading minutes, like I was saying, and agendas, definitely writing notes and taking things down pretty quickly. And yeah, I don't read books on it because I think I'd get frustrated. That's me personally speaking. I wouldn't be able to sit there and read kind of a whole Harry Potter book.
I'm not sure whether they transcribe the stuff into Braille that you like reading, would they?
Probably
They'd
not.
be blushing.
Yeah.
Hello, Louise Bagshaw.
So I wouldn't read.
Are you blushing?
No, I wouldn't read books in Braille. But I use it for reading the news, connecting it to my smartphone, and emails and that sort of thing. So that's really my use of.
So I would say the pros to all of them, with the exception of this clunky old one, which is supposed to do it, but I'd never got it to. You can connect any of them to your mobile phone and operate your iPhone and check your texts and your tweets and all the rest of it, and it's brilliant for that reason. So when you use them as sorry.
And I was going to say, and it's personal and it's private. I was going to say, so no one else can.
What?
No
Oh
one
God, I've got a story with that.
No one can overhear the voiceover maybe on your phone, and sometimes it's just quite nice to be able to read a personal message without the whole training.
I'm sharing my Braille story.
Okay.
So this guy, and I'm not going to say who, he had, I think it was a Packmate at the time,
Oh yeah.
which was a Braille display, and I think it might have been a Windows-based system or whatever it was.
I know where it was going.
I just ordered this clunky old one back in 2006, and they came around to interview me for something. And they were telling me about that Braille display. So, is it good? Yeah, well, have a look at it. So, it's all right, okay. The thing I'm really interested in is writing a document. So, yeah, just go into it then. It's the menu buttons here, whatever it was. And I went in, told me how to do it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to admit there's something on here. And I'm reading. I don't know how much I can repeat. Yes, and then he grabbed at her moist gusset and began to lick her, and it got much worse. And I said, oh, I tell you what, don't worry, I'll have a look at that in a minute. I can't work that out. So we politely, that's how I dealt with it. I'm sure he believed me at that point. So he said, right, I'm just going to get my questions. It's about 10, 15 minutes later. Right, and he said, the first thing is,
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
So it's like the blind equivalent of like opening up someone's
Diary.
adult material. No, just use my iPad. What?
Oh, I'm just blushing thinking of, oh gosh, how embarrassing.
Oh. To this day, that is the
Where
most
do you
embarrassing
look?
Braille story. Well, not in their word processor for a start. That brings us to the device that I personally, out of this lot here, think is the best, okay?
Yeah.
Because all of these are great as displays. If you're someone, we'll talk a bit about NoteTakers in a minute. If you're someone who wants something where you don't need any other devices, you might be better off for a NoteTaker, depending what you're going to do, because you get a full smartphone or tablet experience out of a device that would be like fairly similar size to some of these. But this here, it's a QWERTY keyboard Braille display.
I love it.
I'm going to turn it. It comes with a little plasticky case. And do you remember I was being honest about this small human-wear device over on the right?
Yeah.
This here, I think it was like, theoretically it's from the American printing house APH,
Yeah.
but it was really made by Humanware. Now, as I said to you, they make really, really high premium products. So like the Brilliant 40, as I said, unlike the 14 because it's supposed to be a cheaper one, I would have a look at that any day of the week. It's got those thumb keys that I was mentioning to you earlier, so you can use it in the same way. I've got it set to Unified English Braille that I was telling you. So when you start it up and it's not in display mode, so it's not currently connected to my phone, I can do that really easily. I'm not going to do that today, but I can do that really easily from the menus. But it's in an editor, okay? So we're going to hit enter as you normally would, and it wants to know if I want to create a file. Let's just say yes, we do want to do that. And let's say hi, because I just want to check where we are. Okay, fine. So what we have in this device is a full Braille display and a QWERTY keyboard. You can set it so in this mode you can use some of these keys and type like you are on a proper Braille device. I would say the pros to this is that you know that your Braille is accurate because it's translating from the text that you've written, and you can really easily check it because the Braille is on the panel below. I would say that if it's a child in school, I would be tempted, you might have a view on this, I'd be tempted to say don't get this one for them, or at least if you're going to get it for them, make sure they've learnt on a traditional old-fashioned Perkins mechanical one, or one that has one of these 6 key input things. I say 6 keys, people are watching think there's more than 6 keys. There's 6 cells. The one to the left on an electric one is to delete, and the one to the right is to return carriage and go down.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, they've all got the 6 keys. You can set this one so that you can use certain keys to input Braille, but to be frank about it, I would say to you probably learn on the proper input. But the advantages of these are brilliant because you can actually type really quickly. Okay, one sec. And I'm just going to check I haven't made any typos here. So without moving this one, Siobhan, I wonder whether you just quickly read that Braille on this QWERTY keyboard. What does it say? What does it say?
It says, have you subbed to the channel yet?
That's a really brilliant question. So if you haven't, do support it. I'm going to come over to this one in a second. So we can get rid of that, no problems at all. You use the normal keyboard shortcut keys in lots of cases. So I've hit Control A, which would select all and delete. You can change the setting. Because it's Braille, it's saying, do you want to delete? So with this one, oh, that's me, look. It's got a tiny little speaker to talk, but the one thing I'm going to say about all of these devices, they do not have built-in speech. They are Braille-only devices. Yeah. You can use them with a computer and a smartphone. You can use the speech there. But broadly speaking, you're using to write some stuff here. So, like you want a shopping list, let's say 1, milk. Let's say eggs. And then you can go down to the next one. You could say dog's milk. Let me just say, I haven't actually put the apostrophe there. I could have done, but that's fine. So then that's really quite easy because you can either use these thumbnails on the front or you can use the arrows. And
to navigate around the display,
yeah, exactly,
to the document.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that I want some milk there. I know that if I don't want milk, it's really interesting because it's got the layout there. Eggs, and it's got some dog's milk, which is fantastic. Now, the other thing I love about this is, do you remember that I said that I'm learning UEB Braille?
Yes, you are.
I want to learn UEB Braille. So I can see that it's got my normal Braille that I would recognise, but because I told you that they've changed that TO sign to like the letters 2, TO, they actually write it. I can check on I can learn my UEB Braille.
Okay, let's have a read then.
Yep.
Let's have a read. I won't move the device, but okay. I want to UEB Braille.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
Right, what's that? Let's try another one. Would you just read that to your YouTube subscribers? It's not rude. It's really not rude.
Okay.
You read it loud?
Would you like a back rub?
Yeah, go for it. So, as we were saying, the one advantage to the QWERTY keyboard, I love a back massage piece, is that you can get, you can type messages quite quickly. Read this. Don't read it aloud.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, okay. So sometimes
Hope
we
no
can
one
do
can
things.
actually see what the Braille
No,
says.
no.
Okay.
I didn't switch to the ceiling cam. Should we have another look at the ceiling cam?
Have another
Ready?
look.
1 minute. And back to us. Yeah, we're cameraed up everywhere here.
We
In
are.
fact, actually, let's just let's have another look at. Let's have a look at
Big Brother's watching.
Yeah, let's have a look at which one are we going to look at? Let's have a look at this Focus Blue 14 from the other camera to my left. Sure, you don't know how much work I'm creating myself in edit later, but anyway, it's worth it. It's worth it just for long. Look, they all have pros and cons. You won't be disappointed with any of these devices. All of the companies, Sight and Sound, which is where you get the focuses from, Humanware, which is where you would get this Mantis from, because it was made by Humanware for the APH, isn't it? American Printing House, I'm sure that's right. They're all premium quality. This one in the middle I've got for a Curio. Doesn't even turn on anymore unless it's plugged into the wall. The battery has died. I should actually see if they'll replace the battery, maybe not. But anyway, it's a nice device to have around the house. But if you're going to have something like that, what I'd say is the RNIB have an Orbit Reader 20 Plus, which has got 20 cells. It would look quite similar to this old one here. Look, I'm going to be blunt about this, all right? I think the Orbit Reader is brilliant, and I really recommend that you look at them. And then I recommend that you look at the others as well, because what I like about it is, and I think it's about £695. I'll look at it and put that price on screen now. So it's a lot cheaper. It's about half the price of the other two 14-cell ones. It will get you into reading.
Yeah.
And I think it's a brilliant, we call it a gateway thing, or does that make it sound like a drug? But it's great to get into Braille literacy, and I love what the RNIB have done with it. And please, please, please carry on doing what you're doing, guys. Get better and better again. It's what it is. It's what it is. So we're leaving links to all of this in the description.
Yeah.
The NoteTakers, have a look at those as well. They're all in one device. So literally you can do things such as go into your email, you can surf the internet all from that one device without needing any other. You can also get a thing called an L Braille from Sight and Sound, and I think it's look, the description's there. I'll leave it with you, but I think it's about £1,800. But it connects to the Focus Blue 40 5th generation. So if you've got an older generation, I'm afraid it doesn't work. Doesn't work with the 14 cell. It works with a 40 cell. And what that lets you do is that gives you a whole Windows computer, Windows 10, like a fully functioning one. So you don't have a monitor, it connects to the back of it, and you're able to use email and everything. So then it is a very advanced note taker when you've got them together, and it's portable and it's great and all that. It's a whole laptop, but again, you've got this QWERTY, you've got the Braille Perkins input as opposed to the QWERTY one. So for me personally, I have recently got through work this Mantis, and it is brilliant, and I think it's going to be my daily driver for anything unless I want this small one to take notes. The keyboard's not just a QWERTY keyboard, it's a really, really, really good quality QWERTY keyboard. I'm going to power this one off, by the way. But yes, it's a really, really good QWERTY keyboard, and I'd say definitely have a look at that one. And I think really any of these. And I think I think personally the QWERTY keyboard for me is the way that I'm probably going to look potentially through work. And if you're studying as well, I think it might be an option. It really does depend on personal preference, obviously. But like we mentioned before in the actual video, children definitely start with learning on a proper Braille. You can get electronic devices, jumbo cells, to help young people learn Braille. You can. So what we'll do in the description, we'll leave the number for the RNIB Helpline, and either they or someone else will be able to help you. All right. So I'm creating myself more work here, but we're doing it for the love. So you better watch this, like and subscribe.
Yeah, definitely.
But their number's there. They can advise you on that. Guide Dogs has children's and young people services, so you could phone Guideline, and I'm going to leave the description in the description a number for Guideline. Woohoo! There are all sorts of organisations and charities that can help. There are all sorts of Braille libraries, National Federation for the National Library. There's all sorts there that can help. So any one of these is great for Braille literacy. So that brings us to our last major question, which is how can you afford one of these devices? Which device, remind us, did you buy, Siobhan?
I brought the Brilliant 14.
And although you said that in hindsight you prefer the feel of the Focus, you're not disappointed with it?
No, I'm not disappointed at all. No, I do love it and I do use it a lot.
Your options are, if you're working, which the majority of people who are blind and low vision aren't, and that's not necessarily a reflection on people, believe me, I've been in positions where you're looking for a job and it's blooming hard out there.
It really is hard.
So if you are in the UK, you can get access to work support, which is a scheme by the Department for Work and Pensions, and they'll meet the additional cost of employing someone with a disability, so it doesn't cost your employer any more money. Technically the equipment then belongs to you, and then it's up to them whether to give that to you directly. Most
if you
will.
Leave, yeah.
Well, whatever, whether you leave or not, most will. This clunky old one here, which is the BT18, that was funded by a disabled students allowance, and that's something that's available for anybody who's doing further education. You can get sort of that sort of funding there, and if not, it's, nobody has to apply for this, by the way. It's totally voluntary. Most people have personal independence payments, and if you are blind or very low vision, you're likely to get the upper rate of that, which in the UK at the moment, everybody's slightly different. This can vary depending on your circumstances, but the upper rate is anything up to just over £600 for someone who's blind without other necessarily complex disabilities. And so, when you think, well, if you're not working and you're not doing a university course, and actually a university course is a very good idea, then spreading the cost becomes a bit more affordable than people might, stereotypically think about it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what's your advice then, having looked at all these devices, because there's more than on this table, I'd recommend you look at them, but what's your advice as to how people should approach this complex topic?
I think the first thing to do is definitely reach out to organisations and companies and charities to kind of like just speak to people and see what's out there. Some companies actually do let you trial them and have a feel before you buy, which might be a good option, so you can actually see what you're going to be getting before you think about purchasing it. So definitely ring around various different companies and speak to people about your own specific circumstances.
You really do need to have a good finger of the device and have a feel of it and see what you think, and I would recommend that you do that.
And also, on the last point, if you are sighted and you would like to learn Braille, there are so many different manuals out there, so definitely go and Google.
Do it for free. Google it. You can get a Braille Primer.
You can.
If you want to just look it up quickly, Braille Primer, UEB. How do you spell Braille in Braille? Let's do that together. There's 3 letters. It's B-R-L. I learnt 3 letters on my first lesson. Do you know what they were?
B.
Yep, that was one of them.
A.
Yep.
L.
Yep, and that's because so it's A, B, L.
Yep.
And the reason they did that is A on its own means A. So let's do that. A. Okay. And the next one is B, because what you can do rather than writing B, to write the word about in grade 2 Braille, so I learnt grade 2 straight away, you'd put A and a B together.
B.
So then I've written A about, so I'm going to do that one again. I learnt L, okay? So don't worry, it's not like this is important or anything. So I'll put you A-L-L, okay? And then A-B means about.
About.
A. And then the word little, you do 2 L's.
Little.
Yep. And then the B-A-L-L.
Yep.
Which is great. And then, that's brilliant. Suddenly you know some words. And so then you also know how to write blind, because to write blind in grade 2 or UEB Braille is B-L. That was a lesson called Spot the Dot. So I would say I'm really pleased.
Yes, I remember Spot the Dot. Yeah, and those books. Oh,
did you do that? Then you must have done the same lesson.
Probably. It's probably very
about a little ball.
Yeah.
All about. Anyway, we should do a rap.
We should do a Braille rap. Let's do.
That wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, on the.
Or like 9 to 5.
Go. No, on the actual Perkins Braille. And then ding.
Working 9 to 5. What a living. Scream and shout.
Braille devices on hand, and we have ATW access to work. Let's
go and get a glass of wine. Subscribe, support the channel. Listen, it's been a bit of a long one, guys. I'm always proud of that. And I would say to you that it's about being slightly chatty about it. Yeah. Ask the questions. This is the start of a conversation. Qwerty keyboard, fantastic pros, because you can use it like a keyboard and it's really fast and you can check, okay?
If you use any Braille devices, let us know in the comments below which ones you like, which ones you haven't heard of but you like the idea of, and what are you going to do in terms of,
I'd like to see how you're going to get out of this one.
Oh,
Do you like to doing subbing to this channel and telling people how they can... do you
I
want
lost
to go and
my
get the
train.
wine?
I thought I need a wine.
Right, you go
Anyway.
away. You go away. Get up. You go away.
See,
You're
I'm-
walking over there. I'm just going to finish this, all right? Because
Okay.
she's already got her.
Oh, oops.
She's already got her mind on the wine. We're going to catch you later. This is Blind Girl Vlogs, and she's out of the way. Bye.